Hello and welcome to TechBrits, the only place that we can currently guarantee contains no horse meat whatsoever.
Yes.
So, kicking off this week was MWC, so we're going to discuss over some of that, along with some news from Sony and from Google.
Pretty big announcements.
Yes, some pretty big ones. So, let's start off with HTC, because I done a video last week on the HTC One, a device that I'm very, very much looking forward to. I said at the end of it that'd probably be my device for this year. Very impressed with that, but of course, I was waiting for Nokia's press conference today.
Today, yes. As of filming, it is Monday.
Yeah. Because the HTC, they announced something called Ultra Pixels, which is in their camera. Of course, Nokia are known for their high-end cameras in their devices.
Pure view.
So I was hoping... Yeah, I was hoping that Nokia would blow them out the water again. Now, but it seems like they've still got a better camera than HTC, but it's... What they've announced today, they've announced no new flagship, which is
that's
surprising.
Interesting. I wouldn't say it was surprising. I kind of think that where Nokia are at the moment, I mean, they've got the 920. The 920 is the flagship Windows phone.
It is, but it is very, very flawed, and that was announced back in September of last year. It's time for an update.
I mean, they announced, they said at the very end of the conference that they've got plenty more to talk about this year. They just to say something, I think, at MWC, they wanted to obviously talk about the lower end and the mid-range, because I think a lot of people forget about the lower end and mid-range sort of market as well.
Well, I tweeted out earlier about this, is that I think that they haven't. It's the mid-range, especially, that is completely sort of turning the industry on its head. I mean, if you think about the Nexus 4, I mean, that's a very cheap device, and yet it completely blows sort of that whole quote saying it's not about the race to the bottom out of the water, because it's a damn good device. Mm-hmm. They've cut no corners on it, and it's cheap as well. Yeah,
I mean, I think you'd have to agree that even sort of the lower end markets are kind of being forgotten in a small way, because I think a lot of people refer to the lower end markets as feature phones, and Nokia did announce a few feature phones today. But we're not going to dwell on those too much, because we really want to talk about the Lumias, because the Lumias are the mid-range phones, because the small people, they don't matter. So the Lumia 520 I want to start with. Okay, so this is sort of the low end.
That's a very entry level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, this is interesting to say, because previously they had announced the 620, the 820, and the 920. So they were missing the 520 and the 720, and now they've completed the row. Just wanted to mention that.
Yeah, even I'm getting lost with all these devices that they're bringing out at the moment. But.
Well, I mean, you can kind of just sort of see them in order now. They are in order of number. 520 comes first, going up to 9. Anyway, so the 520 I want to talk about first. It's the lowest of the devices. It's the least spec. There's no front-facing camera. It's got a 5-megapixel back camera, but it's got the same capacitive touchscreen as the 920.
So it does. I actually didn't realise that.
Yeah,
but it is low resolution. It's not HD. But yeah, it's fantastic.
So
for the price.
It's the glove one. You can use it with the gloves. The inside it's got dual core 1 GHz processor and 512 of RAM. I'm not sure what a lot of people are going to say about RAM, but I think I'm agreed at least that it's not about as much as it is important. Coming from a sort of an Apple ecosystem, and what I'm about to say, it's not about what is in the device; it's how the OS reacts with it. And I think it's got some developer limitations, but in terms of OS and sort of core business apps, I reckon 512 is fine.
The thing is 512 is fine for Windows Phone in its current state. Is that there's nothing there at the moment that really requires a high amount of RAM.
I mean, when they start going to Infinity Blade style games, I think they're going to need a bit more.
Yeah, exactly. Which I'm hoping will come this year. So I don't think this device has much longevity, much shelf life. But
I think it has got quite a bit of shelf life, because I think it's very much the entry level Windows Phone. I mean, it was the one that kind of perked me up and went, really? That's the price? It's $183 off contract.
Yeah, that is very good. I was going to make the argument that people would give for the Nexus 4, but that's even more expensive than that. That is a very good price.
It's a very cheap price, and if you want to get into Windows Phone, you kind of go, well, I'm not really one for wanting the cameras and all. I just want a phone. I need an upgrade from my feature phone. It's cheap. It's off contract. It's there.
I think the 720 is a bit redundant. It's sort of good, I suppose, for people who just want a decent camera on a phone, really. But apart from that, it's a shame because it looks really nice. Like, I've seen a lot of people saying how they would want the 920 internals in the 720 shell, and that would be like the perfect Windows phone.
Maybe that's the 1020.
Maybe that's the one I was hoping that they would announce today or won't be far off of.
I reckon they'll announce it near the Apple event. I reckon the Apple event is still very much something that people circle around. And I think we're going to be seeing a lot of events around that time.
Well, I mean, people say that I criticise Apple all the time, but I'm criticising Nokia here as well. I mean, both of them are looking now behind the competition.
Yeah, no, I see what you're saying. I mean, what makes you say that the 720 is redundant? I think this is an interesting point to get to.
I think just because it's too expensive to be entry level, yet it's not high enough to be high level. It is a mid-range handset, which the problem is it's not going to last long. It's not got LTE.
I mean, it's about half the price of the 920 and about double the price of the 520.
Yeah.
So it is literally bang in the middle.
Yeah, I'd sort of go for the 520 over the 720 if I just wanted a cheap device. But yeah, if I wanted a high device, I'd go for the 920.
Okay,
I wouldn't now because I'm hoping that something's going to be around the corner. But yeah.
If they don't call it the 1020, I'm going to be disappointed. But yeah, no, that's really kind of a wrap up of what Nokia spoke about today. I mean, they've now completed the 5 phones, 520 through to 920. Would you want to buy any? I mean, I did genuinely perk up when I saw the prices and kind of went,
which was surprising. It's in your because I was so disappointed, and you're the one who's against this. And
I mean, I have a weird hatred for a Windows Phone just because I've said on the show before because of the way it is, which is annoying because if they did change it or even added like a little feature, I think it would be a nice little change to sort of have it, not like that. But I suppose with the prices is what got me because it was like here are the prices. It's 149 euros or 108 or 249 euros for the 720, and I kind of went, off contract? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Because my problem at the moment is I can't really afford a flagship phone at the moment. So I'm very much in the gate of I'm looking for a phone that's why the 720 appealed to me. I'm looking for a phone that is mid-range, that is reasonably priced. Because the 720 is where I would go instead of the 920 because it is half the price.
Yeah. And
spec-wise, okay, it's not as spec-heavy, but as you know, I'm not a spec guy.
But when you start running into those barriers and you start being told that you can't run things, then
I'll get pissed off. But
yeah.
All right, let's move away from Nokia a sec and let's move.
Actually, just last thing I want to write is Stephen Elop was dropping hints about a tablet Surface competitor.
Yes,
still in the works. Nothing announced yet, but it sounds like there's one in Nokia's lab somewhere.
I reckon it won't be too far. I reckon when they reveal the 1020, they'll reveal the Nokia Lumia Tab 20.
The concepts look fantastic. But carrying on with tablets, Asus, a company known for I actually did find out the pronunciation of this before the show. It's Asus.
Asus, really?
Asus.
It's always been Asus. Anyway, go.
They announced their new pad phone, a weird sort of device, one that I'm not really a fan of at all. The mobile, which kind of slots into the tablet, which makes it the phablet, it's quite a decent device, but I just don't like the idea of having to connect my phone to my tablet. Like that.
They announced that a while ago, didn't they?
They did. This is a new upgrade to it.
Right.
I think there's the pad phone and the phone pad now, because people are getting confused. But plugging your phone into your tablet seems a redundant thing now, especially on Android, because you have things like Android Beam and that. Like the whole point is you're supposed to be able to do everything wirelessly. You tap the back of the device and you should be able to just continue.
I quite like the idea.
Doing.
I quite like the idea. Just the idea of just kind of going, okay. You know what I mean? But no, I get what you're saying.
I'd rather just go tap.
Yeah, no, but it's kind of the sci-fi angle where you kind of you You know.
Yeah, I think that's what it seems old school. To me,
Yeah,
like
no, that's what I
plugging
mean. I
things
think
in,
that's
like,
why they're doing it.
I think more sort of sci-fi and futuristic would be and just tap it on the back. It's not even futuristic. It's now.
Yeah. Let's talk about Sony. Because Sony had an announcement last week, which we haven't spoken about yet. The PlayStation 4 controller was announced.
Yeah, the PlayStation 4
Specs.
brand was announced around it, but no PlayStation 4, which a lot of people were really confused about. Apparently Sony did intend to actually show it, they said.
Oh, really?
They did intend to, but they decided to wait for something else, so that there's still surprises to come, which annoyed a lot of people. I mean, I didn't really expect to see the console at the event. Like, console launches are massive. Like, Sony wouldn't just do a quick webcast and just be like, here's the PlayStation 4 in all its glory. There you go, nothing for E3. So
yeah, they are definitely saving for E3.
Yeah, no, I think the point of this event was obviously to get a jump on Microsoft and just try and tease like all their exclusive games and things that you can't get on Xbox, and just try and show that PlayStation's a good brand
And still alive.
because I think that they've been asleep. Like a lot of these services that they've announced don't even sound ready to launch yet. They're all mainly sort of concepts, and I think they know that Microsoft are going to wipe the floor with them.
I'm worried for PlayStation, if I'm honest. I mean, first of all, the PlayStation 4, as much as everyone knew that was what it was going to be called, the logo looks god-awful.
Well, I didn't think it was going to be called the PlayStation 4. Genuinely, I wanted it to be called the PlayStation Orbis. Because obviously the PlayStation Vita, then Orbis and Vita, then means Circle of Life, which is always seems to me like a nice branding. PlayStation Orbis, the PlayStation Vita, they work together to make the Circle of Life. It seems nice, but you've got the PlayStation 4 and then you've got the PlayStation Vita.
I reckon they're ditching the Vita. I reckon they will. The thing is, here's what a lot of brands got to stop doing. They got to stop adding numbers, because there will be a point where they won't be able to add another number. You know, there will be a point where people will go, "Hey, come round mine and we'll play on the PlayStation 75." Like, I think Microsoft got it right with calling it the 360, because. But the problem now is, what are they going to call the next one? The 720 doesn't really make as much sense, because that's just two circles.
They may go with what Apple have now done in just, what they did with the iPad, and just call in every new release the iPad.
And I actually think that's a good idea, and a lot more brands should be doing that.
Yeah, I do.
I want the PlayStation to just be called the PlayStation, because at the end of the day, who says, "Hey, who wants to come around and play on my PlayStation 3? You know what I mean?
Probably me. No, I know what you mean. Yeah, it does make sense. It's annoying, obviously, for reviewers now. They then have to like put in brackets like 6th gen iPad or 5th gen iPad and that sort of thing. But
from a consumer standpoint, it's just, I want to go buy the PlayStation.
Yeah, it simplifies everything.
On the PlayStation, we will quickly talk about the controller. The controller has been redesigned slightly. It still looks very PlayStation-y, but it's now got like a little touchpad on the front, which I think is obviously kind of not a jab at, but kind of a step towards, because they didn't want to put a screen in it like the Wii U did. Because the Wii U is very different. I think the Wii U will be a very different kettle of fish for a while, again. Because, you know, although saying that, they have got I don't know what it's called, but it's like the PlayStation, essentially the double screen thing where you can use your phone as a dual screen.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's there, but if you want like a hardcore, you know, you don't have to use any other device. You don't have to go out and buy a phone that has it. The Wii U is still, you know, very much a different ballgame altogether.
I was going to say, even, obviously you have the separate PlayStation Move controller. That's still around, but they've built that functionality now into the controller as well. They actually have a light bar touchscreen. I wish they sort of redesigned it a bit more, to be honest. But
I really do like the look of it. I mean, it keeps to its roots, but it is slightly redesigned.
Yeah.
It is still very clear that it's a place. Like, if you put a PS3 controller and a PS4 controller next to each other, you could tell the difference. Because the thing that annoyed me was the PS3 controller and the PS2 controller looked exactly the same.
Yeah, no, I understand that. It also has a new share button, which is actually really cool. You can press that and instantly share like 15 seconds of game footage, whatever you're playing. Other people can jump into the game and help you out, that sort of thing.
I think that's a nice little feature.
Yeah,
although cool. I don't like the fact that the button's like right there.
If it's ready. Well, I suppose within fun reach, you're coming up to a cool point, you're like, share. Yeah.
But I'm coming up to a cool point, share. that point wasn't as cool as I wanted it to be.
You sound like a douchebag.
Well, that's
Radical, man.
I'm not going to say what I just said again. What else? What are we going to talk about?
Google.
Ah.
Now, they announced something called the Chromebook Pixel. Now, the Chromebook Pixel
yes. I
has
remember
a
briefly seeing this.
2560 by 1700 resolution screen, which is beautiful, it's stunning. I got really excited for a brief second because obviously I'm a big fan of the Retina MacBook Pro.
For a brief second.
Yes, because I'm a big fan of the Retina MacBook Pro. I love the design of it. I love the fact it has a high resolution Retina
Yeah, you
display.
are a sucker for high resolution displays.
Yes, I am. I fully admit that. They're absolutely gorgeous. But I've been waiting for a decent one on the PC side because obviously I'm not a fan of Mac. Might have found that out by now. But, then I realised, hang on, Chromebook doesn't run Windows. It runs Chrome OS, which is just for web applications. And this device is like, I think it was like $2,000 or something like that.
Ooh.
No one wants to pay that for something that basically runs Gmail, YouTube, and Google Docs. I mean, I know that there's going to be incorporating Android probably into it soon, but it's way too early to be bringing that kind of resolution to something you don't need it on.
Yeah.
Chromebooks should be cheap. That's what they're there for. They're for entry-level users who just want to access the web. For my grandparents.
For $2,000, I'd rather get a flight to New York, get a US citizenship, and then buy a Google Glass.
Yeah.
Because if you, in case you've been under a rock, Google Glass did, of course, reveal their new actual, not concept, but actual video of how Google Glass is going to work. Very different to how the concept video went. A lot of people kind of annoyed that it's sort of so much money, but this is still sort of a
it's still access for developers.
Yeah.
So
this is still sort of a development model.
Yeah. Which is weird because Google are supposed to be launching their new stores where you actually have to go to have these things fitted. So
yeah. Well,
Specsavers, watch out.
Well, stores do take longer than about a week to build. So, Specsavers, watch out.
Google are after you.
But I think that's everything we want to talk about today, Ryan.
It is. So, any comments on this episode? Anything that we spoke about? Chuck below.
Yes.
And final contact details in the description. You know the drill by now. Hit that subscribe button if you want to see us next week, and we shall see you guys later.
Ciao.
Ciao.